Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name's Scyushi and this is my custom minion build. I'm really having a lot of fun with it. It's got insane utility and also has a lot of survivability. It's a lot of fun just sitting on the sidelines at a boss and letting my minions go to town. If I ever come across a boss that ends up destroying me, I can usually just swap my minions out on the fly to ones that'll end up impacting the battle better. The build is also not reliant on any specific type of gear. You're basically just trying to make your minions as strong as possible and giving yourself as much mana and as much elemental resistance as possible where you can spare it. Like, this is the only unique that I'm rocking, but it's not mandatory by any means. I just got really lucky with some minion skills going up on this one and minion skills on this, and just, yeah, the resistances as we'll get into. So first, looking at my abilities, I actually have enough spirit now that I can use all minions. That of course is because these gems are higher level, I'll say, just because of the, the amount of level boost that I have towards them. So this does all work early game as well. You're just gonna have a lot less minions and a lot less control. So for my skeletal warriors, I like to go with overpowered, maim as the primaries, heavy swing as the third gem slot that I took so far. For my skeletal mages, or frost mages, considered casting glaciation or whatever, and cold penetration. Skeletal reaver, I just used behead and minion instability. Generally speaking, these are my first unit that I cycle out for other units. A skeletal cleric, meat shield, and ingenuity. And also, there is a different option that you can end up doing where I found if you put like the, what is it called? Internal Legion. You can put this on your base skeletons and it'll basically make them slowly tick down their health while dealing fire damage. But if you have enough clerics, you can actually keep them healed out of death, so they're just permanently providing the fire proc, which is really nice. But that's something that I don't really typically like myself, but I swap to it every now and then. Anyways, skeletal storm mage would be electrocute, conduction, lightning penetration. Skeletal arsonist is going to be fire penetration, ignition, wildfire, skeletal brute, devastate, martial tempo, heft. As you can see, I'm using most of all just the support gems that are recommended, and they all work wonderfully together. And then skeletal sniper is corrosion, demolisher, and deadly poison. I do have blasphemy with enfeeble. Sometimes I swap enfeeble out for vulnerability. Most of all, this is just, if I find that I'm dying like way too easily, I'll just put this on instead. It does mean I gotta swap some of my minions out. It's most of all just that I'm way too lazy to constantly cast the curse because I'm gonna be using all of my skelly abilities so often anyways. And moving into the skill tree, I mean, what do I say other than it's extremely simple to follow? You basically just go for all the minion nodes, and kind of the only crux is to get as much mana regeneration as you can spare when your minions have enough survivability. I don't really have to get them much extra life for them to survive. So I try to focus a lot on just the damage nodes and the big nodes for crits and so on and so forth. Oh, I guess I don't have that one. But again, they're surviving, so I don't really need it. I'm slowly building towards getting these, and then eventually I'll build into the other minion nodes over here and over here. But I had to kind of refund some of my skill points just because of other things. This area here is more so for the area effect, which isn't as important as the damage, I would say, just because the area effect can just be augmented with support gems anyways. But down here was really nice because they, deal more damage, more elemental resistance, and so on and so forth. The reason why you want to get a lot of energy regen, or mana regen, sorry, is because the mind over matter node, which is all damage, is taken from mana before 50%, or before life, and you have 50% less mana recovery rate, which does kind of suck. But if you're just using all of your minions and casting their abilities, you don't actually need that much mana. So it's not really that much of a detriment. The only problem is if I start getting hit a lot, then my mana goes down before they start draining my health. And thus I have to consume a lot of mana flasks in order to use my minion abilities because otherwise I don't have the mana for it. For the extra little gems, I don't really, I got this one, which is nice. This one I don't think affects my minions. That's the thing, is a lot of this is just you know, there's a lot of abilities that will end up boosting your character, but if it doesn't say your minion, then it doesn't really matter because the minions don't scale off of your stats. They have like their own stats, which is why it's so detrimental to go through the skill tree for them. Another one that you might consider getting long-term would be the Necromantic Talisman. I don't have a good enough talisman to bother giving it to my minions because this basically makes it so that your minions will take your equip amulet stats instead of you, but I just don't have a good enough one yet. That could be a game changer long term. But yeah, I mean, as far as the build is concerned, from this point, I'm just gonna get all the minion nodes. Of course, later on, I'll start to experiment with some other stuff. But again, since the minions kind of only scale off the minion nodes, it's very limiting with how you can end up actually setting the character up. Not to imply that some people out there haven't come up with better builds than this. This is just kind of my own personal preference. And I love, again, the utility of just being able to pick and choose which minions I have when I go into a fight.